CoreWeave. CoreWeave. Huh? CoreWeave was Supermicro's largest customer over the last year. CoreWeave. Okay. Let's put it together. All right. Help me out because I want to help you out. Nvidia. All right. Nvidia is the #1 company in the world. Nvidia has investments into ARM Holdings, who in turn has investments back into Nvidia. Nvidia has investments into CoreWeave, who in turn has investments back into Nvidia. CoreWeave has investments into MicroStrategies, who in turn has investments into Nvidia. They're all round-tripping revenue. The only way that Supermicro Computers shows value is via Abelcon and Computerware, who are related parties, their brother's company, who in turn, their largest customers are CoreWeave, one of the largest customers of Nvidia. All while the Mag 7 is invested back into Nvidia. Let me tell you about this house of cards. This is a house of cards ready to fall. And all it's going to take is one of those cards to come crumbling down, and it looks like you're on a time ticker, babe. It looks like Supermicro Computers is the piece that's going to fall. They might be the Enron to this whole thing, but this whole thing's ready to blow. I'm not a doomsday prepper, but when I see that Abelcom, their largest investor is CoreWeave, and I know that's Nvidia, and I know that these guys are Supermicro Computers are the same thing. They're the 3rd and 4th largest customer of Nvidia. It's everybody's doing. Who's the second in command over here at Supermicro Computers? The wife to Bill. Right? You got Steve, you got Bill. There's brothers. Then you got the wife. She's on the board too. They all formed these companies, guys. And I'm not saying that they formed them to commit the crime, but all their executives that they hired in 2018 when they went under investigation at Supermicro Computers by the SEC, they've hired them back. They fired them and hired them. All their buddies. And or hired them again at these other companies. Companies of their brothers. Oh, here, I'll let this guy go. You go ahead and take him. I'm looking at it right here. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. Certain materials used by the company as manufacturing the products shortages could occur in the materials due to interpretation of supply and increased demand in the industry. Supplier A accounted for 69%, and supplier B accounted for 5%. So one supplier is the whole company. 70%? Hey, how many people bought ore, pyrite, gold, and silver from HYMC Mining? How many customers did they have, guys? 2. You ever want to know how terrible a business is? Let them only have 1 customer, 2 customers, the bulk of it right there. Do you remember when I showed you the problem that I had with Nvidia? Nvidia showed an increase on accounts receivable by 40% from quarter to quarter. Darlings of Wall Street because of what they call mark-to-market accounting. But when you show 40% and I show you that 3 people make up 50% of all revenues, for the largest company in the world, let me explain to you how ridiculous that is and why we all have to pay attention. We're talking about $3 trillion. $3 trillion valuation for Nvidia, and only 3 companies make up half of their revenues. What happens when one of those companies is their actual competition? What happens when one of those companies runs out of cash to spend? Because all that cash they're spending, guys, on R&D, on infrastructure building. Guys, research and development is one thing. But to go ahead and buy up the infrastructure of AI, I've already said this to people. It might cost you more than what you'll ever get out of it. Because the time it takes to actually return on your investment, where is the profitability? Where are we in right now? What chapter are we in AI? In artificial intelligence infrastructure, what chapter are we in? Because if we're in the spending chapter, you just did it in the most expensive time to spend cash. The allocation of your assets right now at 7%, 6% on a Fed rate, you're crazy. 4.5%, ooh, we cut. Go look at housing right now. What's the 30-year? The highest it's been all year. Yet rates just got lowered last week. This is my problem with this market. Yes, I know. I'm invested in GameStop. They did the right thing when no one's watching. They don't have these shady accounting practices. They don't mark to market. You know what they do? They look at numbers, and yes, they hide the fat within them. A lot of people do this. When it comes to accounting, a lot of people do what they're allowed to do, but you can manipulate. And you know when you manipulate, you know what's the biggest time when people manipulate? See, it's one thing to have mark to market. That's manipulation in itself, because it's not a true number. But when they forecast and give out guidance, because it's almost like they're that guy. What was that guy's name? James Smallbone, the YouTuber, small-time YouTuber. You guys don't know him. His name is James Smallbone. You know what he used to do? He used to sensationalize AMC stock, and he used to go, "This stock is gonna go to the moon tomorrow." And then he would delete his video. And he said, "Why did you delete your video?" He goes, "Oh, because I said something that might have incriminated me. So I get overzealous sometimes, and I get too excited." And it's like, no, everybody saw that video. It was live for 2 days, and now it's gone. And you just lied to everybody, but you deleted it. That's forecasting. Forecasting for analysts doesn't matter. Analysts don't matter. Analysts are paid to give their opinion. And when you're not paying analysts, when you're not feeding them info, when you're not getting guess what they do? They go, "Oh, we're not going to give you a rating. We're not going to follow your stock." Remember, executives only care about one thing. What's the price of that stock and how can I keep it up? None of them are building for the future. None of them are building for what really matters. Take away all the glamour. Take away all the bullshit. GameStop has changed its image. It's changed its direction. And although it was, this Titanic ship with a small rotor and rudder and it's doing its thing, you know what it did? It made it. We're the little one that could. And it's still going, but you know what? We didn't lie about it. We earned that shit. Nvidia is cashing out the minute the red flags are announced, because they know. Who cares? Who cares if it goes from $3 trillion market cap and goes down to $1 trillion? They don't care. It's still $1 trillion, but they got to cash out at the top. And they get to use that whole, "Oh, I didn't know what was happening. I wasn't aware." I'm going to wait for those hearings on the Hill. You weren't aware. You weren't aware that Super Microcomputers is doing fraudulent accounting practices over the last, 20 years? You weren't aware? You weren't aware that the number one company that they're invested in is their own, their brother's companies, and yours, Nvidia. You weren't aware? CoreWeave is your investment. CoreWeave's invested, and their biggest partner, Super Microcomputers. You weren't aware? Abel Khan, biggest customer, is CoreWeave. You weren't aware? I don't know who's out here studying this stuff. I don't know who has the time to dig and follow it all. But it makes a lot of sense to me.